Alright guys, so in the last video we talked about how to create a batch, and a batch is for a batch of samples. So you want to run more than one thing at a time, and you want to go over and load maybe 30 or 40 things up for the instrument to run, and then you walk away and you will come back hours later when it gets finished. So that's basically what we are after, and in the last video I showed you the steps of that process on how to create a batch table. Over here to the left, you're going to see a real-time batch icon, and when you click that icon, you will start to see a group of different columns that will appear on the computer screen. We went through, talked about some of these important columns. So the tray name is where the sample is located, the vial number, which is the position that you're going to load them in, the sample name, which is how you want them to show up on the report so you know which one's which. The sample ID, we said, really doesn't matter. That's a unique identifier number or a barcode system. The sample type, we run everything as an unknown, and the reason is because if we do that, then everything gets treated equally, and we go to Excel and we plot calibration curves. If I want the software to do calibration curves, then I would initiate a calibration curve request, and I would tell it it's a standard and not an unknown. Everything is also ran on the method file that is named BAC analysis. Again, that is the method file that has all of our settings that we need for the machine. Next up is the data file. It will automatically name it the way it wants. Level number, this is for calibration work. So everything's an unknown, everything gets zeros. However, if this was calibration curve, then standards would get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Injection volume was all 1,000 microliters. One injection per container is what we're after. Finally, the report output, we leave that checked off if we want it to print as it gets completed. So before we get started, I'm going to uncheck all of those because I don't want it to do that. I want to look at them first. And then the report format file is just a template that we have made, and we are like, okay, we want a chromatogram, we want some information down at the bottom. That's really it. No bells and whistles. Just give us something very basic. And that is the report format file. So again, we've saved that template and we apply that template to everything that needs to be ran. All right, so here's going to be a video of maybe more about the machine, a little bit about the injection. And at this point, I'm just going to sit back and let you enjoy the show. All right, guys, so I told you there were 4 trays right now installed in our Headspace system, and you can actually see these 4 trays. The first one is right here with that behind that amber vial with the blue lid. There's tray number 1, here's tray number 2, here's tray number 3. So you can see that these 2 trays are meant for regular liquid injection right now. Tray number 3 is just for a little short stack. Not very many samples, probably single injections of Headspace containers. So that's actually tray number 3. And then tray number 4 is actually here on the right hand side. And that's this big stainless steel one. It holds a lot of Headspace containers. We're going to need a lot. I think my last count was 34 that we have prepped, and that includes all the blanks, the quality controls, the standards, and the samples. So it's this tray that we need, and in order to remove that tray, because it is removable, you just really pick it up, and you hope that you don't shatter and drop anything. And I'm just going to lay it down here on the countertop, and that way now we can load up our samples. You're going to see that each one of these samples or sample container wells have a number that's on them, and you see it stamped in the bottom left hand corner. So it's going to be like here. There's spot number 1, spot number 2, spot number 3, spot number 4, spot number 5, and so on. This particular tray can actually, oh gosh, there goes all my samples. No, they're just empty containers. All right, so you can see that this sample tray goes all the way to number 60. So this is a big enough tray for our 34 samples that we need, and I'm just going to load all of our samples up. That's basically in this sample rack right now. We're going to load all of those up in order, and the way that we're going to load them up is the way that I filled them in here in the batch table. So we can kind of see, we start off with blanks, there are some standards, here's some additional blanks in between every single sample. I like to keep the samples clean, make sure there's no carryover. And then finally the QC, and then we end up with some more blanks at the end, just to make sure that everything is flushed out of the machine as much as possible. So I'm going to load these up off camera. I'm just going to take our samples that we've prepped, and they are here, and I'm just going to load them in order the way that they should be in our tray number 4. Alright guys, all of our samples have now been loaded, so spot number 1 starts up here, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, da, 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 da. Number 10, and then number 11 is here. Oh, I love that sound, listen. Oh, it makes me happy. Alright, and then here's another row. Oh, there's that sound again. And then finally, here's spot number 34, and that's where it ends. These over here are not used. These are original OG containers, and we just kind of keep them on the tray so that way when people come and look at the machine, they know what this metal block is supposed to be. But we are not going to be using these over here. The machine will never see them. Alright, so now I'm going to take this tray, I'm just going to pick it up, and now we need to move it up here into the auto sampler. Quite heavy, actually. So we'll just sit it onto the tray, as if I can do this with one hand. That's the key. Oh, come on. Oh. There we go. All right, so I managed to do it with one hand. Look at that. All right, so here's our auto sampler tray ready to go. And then over here on the computer software, I see once again my GC and my auto sampler says they're both ready. So everything has been filled out. The only thing that I'm going to do now is over here to the left hand side, I'm going to hit start real-time batch. So everything's been double checked. I did that off camera before I hit record, and in the next video I'll hit start batch and we'll see what happens on the machine. Alright, so we are ready for the magic to happen, and I'm going to hit start real-time batch. Yay! All this work, and now I get to hit run. Alright, and then it says, okay, you are getting ready to save the batch file. Are you okay with that? Absolutely. Current batch file will be saved. Sure, yeah, let's do it. Alright, and then I hit okay. Alright, so as I step back, we're going to take a look at this machine. The auto sampler is going to key in just a minute or two. There is a slight delay for that auto sampler to pick up and do what it needs to do. So right now the computer software that you see in the background, that's our kind of TV monitor display, a little bit larger, it is sending all the signals that it needs over to the auto sampler, the GC system, the detector. All of that is receiving this information in our batch sample. If you probably can't see it, but up here in the computer screen there's a blue bar right there. There's a blue one and there's a green one. The green one is GC, and it's telling me the GC is now ready, and the AOC is the blue one, and the AOC says preparing. So if I can zoom in and maybe focus a little bit, you might see that preparing. So that means it's gathering all of the data that is nestled in the software right now, and it is organizing itself and making a plan on how to run these samples the proper way. On the Game Boy is what we call this. On the Game Boy, this is controlling the auto sampler. You actually see it says headspace syringe waiting to reach 65 degrees. So not only are we getting the data saved and it's making its plan and it's organizing how is it going to run these standards and samples, but it's also heating itself and stabilizing the temp to 65, because that is a temperature that is required by our method. All right. So with that said, We should be able to kick in for a sample here in just a minute, I hope. But in the meantime, I'm going to be quiet until the auto sampler takes over. Oh. All right, so here it is, picking up the container. It's magnetic. It opens it up, leaves it inside of the oven, and it releases and closes the door. And now the oven is shaking. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. That's what it's doing. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. Because we have told it to actually shake the samples to help release any of the ethanol that might be in these standards or in these blood samples, so that way we can actually release as much as possible. So this is a shaking device as well as a heating device. We use both of these options because that's what our method basically tells us to do, and that's what we're going to do. All right, now it does not only hold one at a time, it actually holds more than one, and there's actually a spot, I think, up to 6. So what will happen is that it knows it's going to continue to do this for 15 minutes. But it's not going to just do one and that's it, because look, it's thinking, oh my God, look at all of these. I got to do all of these and shake and jiggle. Yeah, you do. I mean, that's kind of the part of the headspace system. We don't want to do this by hand. We want the auto sampler to do it. So what will happen is that right now one is in there shaking and jiggling, and then it's going to stay in there for a little bit. And then it's going to start piggybacking onto those standards and samples. So in a few minutes, this auto sampler is going to come over and it's going to grab another container, and it will put the other container beside the first one, and it will start to jiggle them at the same time. And then number 3, number 4, number 5, whatever it takes, as long as it timed itself the proper way, it's going to be able to do that. So it speeds our process up much faster. It's a very dynamic type of injection that begins to go on. So that's kind of why there was a pause. It's kind of making a plan on when do I inject, what timestamps do I inject, how many minutes do I need to wait in between our standards before I put the next one in, because it's not just going to do this for 15 minutes and then inject, and then go to the second one and do that one for 15 minutes and then inject. It's going to make a plan where it will start to have the next one ready to go by the time the GC is finished with that sample that it just injected. All right, so the run times here are 10 minutes, but that's after it goes into the GC. So after this moment, we're going to wait another 10 minutes, 12 minutes or so. Again, run time 15 minutes. It's going to come back to that. It's going to lift it up, and then it takes it here to the injector of the instrument, and it will puncture that septum. There's a piece of rubber up underneath that injection, and it will squirt the air that it will suck up from that container into the machine. And then that machine will begin to separate all of my alcohols, and it will send it through the detector, where the detector is going to pick those up. And then my detector is this little chimney stack right here. That is my detector. Oh, yay, look. Now you can see why I call it the chimney stack. A large amount of heat is coming up from the top. I can feel it because there's a flame on the inside. And that's how it actually destroys these organic compounds like alcohol, and it is able to pick up signals after it destroys them. It ionizes them, and that's why it's called a flame ionization detector.
All right, guys, so I think that gives you an overall idea, at least an introductory idea of what goes on when we initiate the sample analysis. So as you saw in the video, the auto sampler went over, it picked a vial up using a magnetic cap, took it over to the oven, it jiggled, 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 jiggled in the oven, and it's going to continue to do that until that heat period is over. Keep in mind, the reason that we're doing this is that we're heating the blood sample up, and the blood sample is going to release those very volatile components. And volatile means it can evaporate easily. It can go into vapor form very easily, a gas form. So if we heat it and if we jiggle, what we can do is that we can release those alcohols up into the headspace area of the sample compartment. That headspace that now has a gas form of alcohol is going to get sucked up, and then that is what gets injected on the GC instrument. All right. So in the next video, we'll just continue on with this particular type of analysis, the different stages that's going to go on, and we'll pick up with a little bit more jiggling, and I'll show you a little bit more action on what the auto sampler is actually doing.